Recently, Gooseworx once again answered fan questions on Tumblr, and some of them turned out to be absolutely insane. Besides, this kind of activity once again hints that the classic pre-release warm-up before the new episode is getting close, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're gonna go over some of Gooseworx's answers, though it's worth mentioning right away that we won't cover everything cause some of it just isn't worth discussing. One of the users asked, "Is Ribbit a guy or a girl?" To which Gooseworx replied, "She, they." This is one of the biggest reveals we've gotten in a while, since tons of fans have been wondering for so long who Ribbit actually is, and this answer changes a lot, but we'll talk about that in more detail a bit later. Everyone remembers how the fandom reacted to Jax's behavior at the end of episode 6. A lot of people were at least surprised by what he did, so it was only natural for someone to ask, "Is Jax still the favorite after everything, or no?" Gooseworx confidently replied, "Yeah." Goose already revealed one of the lines from episode 7, "You're only making the joke take longer?" But recently, another random quote from the same episode surfaced, "I'm gonna be sick. That was everything." Oh my god, it's pretty clear that this line is meant for some special scene where something huge gets revealed. Whether it's connected to the circus itself or to one of the characters is still a mystery, but luckily, we don't have to wait much longer to find out. Episode 6 was unique in its own way since it was the first one to feature a song. It was honestly something really unexpected, and a lot of fans ended up loving it. So one of them asked Gooseworx, "Will there be more singing moments in future episodes?" The creator replied with, "Definitely not," confirming that episode 6 will remain the only one to use that kind of element. We already know the release dates for episodes 7 and 8, and since episode 8 is coming out on March 20th, it's pretty reasonable to assume that, in the worst case scenario, the final episode of the amazing digital circus will be released sometime in August. So it wasn't surprising to see questions like, "Hey Goose, I have a question. Since we're almost at the end of the amazing digital circus, how do you feel about the show ending?" To which Goose replied, "Oh, thank God." Or something like, "Will you be taking a short, decently sized break after TADC ends? I can imagine dealing with everything that came with it can be exhausting as frick." "Oh yeah," Goose answered. "It's already clear that despite all the success the amazing digital circus has brought, working on such a massive project has been incredibly draining, and I can only imagine the relief Gooseworx will feel once episode 9 is finally out." Not long ago, Goose described episode 7 as shrimp. Hardly anyone understood what that actually meant. And of course, fans immediately wanted more hints about the plot. One of the users asked, "If you had to use 1 or 2 words to describe the plot of episode 7, what would it be? Except the beach part." Goose simply replied, "Beach part." On the one hand, she was clearly joking and teasing fans' curiosity, but if you think about it, this might actually be her way of avoiding any real spoilers, which once again proves how important and large-scale episode 7 is going to be. Aside from that, we finally got confirmation about the new secret voice actor. Cosmic Nia asked, "If I may ask, what are your favorite jokes from any of the past 6 episodes?" To which Goose replied, "There's one involving a guest voice that made my dad laugh. So I'm pretty happy about that." After that, another user directly asked, "Is Zach Hadel going to make an appearance in Digital Circus?" And Goose responded by tying it back to the previous question. "That sounds like something that would make my dad laugh." At this point, it's pretty obvious that Zach Hadel is indeed the mysterious voice actor we've been hearing rumors about for a while now. At first it might have seemed like Goose was talking about Ribbit, but since it's now officially confirmed that Ribbit is a girl, it's much more likely that Zach could be voicing that mysterious mannequin character. If you guys have your own theories about who he might actually be voicing, I'd love to hear them in the comments. I've already shown you that so-called leak of a random line from episode 7, but Goose also revealed a random line from episode 8, if you can even call it that. One user wrote, "Hey Goose, do you think we could get half of a random line from episode 8? And the reply honestly shocked everyone. Zeepidabop. I have no idea if that means anything at all, but I just couldn't not mention it. Since we've already started talking about episode 8, I just have to show you this. Which would you say is your favorite episode of TADC ATM? Could be the finished ones, or one of the upcoming ones we haven't seen yet. Either way works." Goose replied, "Probably like 8 or 4. Before we move on to another insanely important so-called leak and take a closer look at Ribbit, let's go through a few more of Gooseworx's answers in a quick Q&A format. Bit of a crack theory, but whatever. Are all main TADC characters inspired by some aspect of your personality? Had that idea because I find all of them relatable in some way. I mean, kinda, yeah. Do you regret any character design choices in TADC? Maybe Zooble having a triangle head because now everyone thinks they're a self-insert. even though I don't think Zubul and I would get along IRL due to my personality. What do you plan on doing once TADC is finished? Dying? But of course that was a joke. Will you ever make anything similar to TADC again? Maybe. I had a dream recently about a bunch of gangsters who get turned into puppets, and I might be able to turn it into something maybe. Goose, can you please say a random phrase of Pomni from episode 9? No episode 9 quotes allowed. Goose, why is the sun so toxic? Plasma. What happens if you ingest the stupid sauce instead of pouring it into your eyes? You get like 32% less stupid than if you put it in your eye. Did you expect Digital Circus to do this well? Definitely not. Did you have the whole general plot planned out before you started writing the first episode, or did you come up with some of it as you went? I plan everything out before I begin, so I can properly set things up that will be relevant later. Now let's talk about another so-called leak that absolutely blew up the fandom. One user asked Gooseworx, "Are you sure there's no romance in this show?" To which she replied, "I don't know, man." Right after that, some fans immediately linked this to the reveal that Ribbit is actually a girl and started coming up with theories about possible romantic relationships. Goose later clarified, "For more clarity on this answer, because it's upsetting people, it means people are going to interpret romance, no matter what I do." With this clarification, Goose once again confirmed what she said back when the amazing Digital Circus first began, that there would never be any kind of romantic subplot between the characters. The fact that Ribbit is a girl and that she and Jax had a good relationship doesn't mean they were anything more than close friends. They were best friends, nothing else. I think Jax would have grieved the loss of his best friend just as deeply even if Ribbit had been a guy. There was actually a lot more info, but none of it really had anything to do with the amazing Digital Circus, so I decided not to fill the video with unnecessary stuff. Today, we've learned a few more key details that might come in handy before episode 7 drops, but it's important to remember that the creators have already leaked some earlier hints that could be even more important. So let's quickly go over what those were. Y'all remember when Goose straight up told us that one episode's gonna be crazy long, but didn't reveal which one exactly? Gooseworx also told us that the total runtime of episodes 6 through 9 is going to be 2.5 hours, which is 150 minutes. If we round it a bit, that means the last 3 episodes are going to take up around 120 minutes, so each next EP is going to be at least 40 minutes long. Honestly, I feel like episode 8 is going to be the shortest one, sitting at around 34 to 35 minutes, while episode 7 might stretch out to a whole 45 minutes. Over a year ago, Gooseworx already told us who each EP is going to focus on, and if the pilot in episode 2 showed us Pomni's first days and her trying to adapt to the Digital Circus. Episode 3 dug deeper into Kinger and showed us Zubul's real problem. Episode 4 showed what Gangle would be like if you gave her even a little power. Episode 5 revealed Ragatha's true identity, and episode 6 showed us the real Jax who's always hiding behind that nihilist mask. Some folks got theories that a new character might pop up there, and we'll definitely talk about that at some point, but still that post was more about uncovering the characters we already got. So in that case, we gotta get that episode 7's just gonna dig even deeper into every single character, and we're gonna see way more real reactions to the truly messed up events of the Digital Circus. So the teaser after episode 6 is also gotta hold some important meaning for episode 7, and I think I caught the main message the devs were sending. First off, we see a trash can somewhere on the circus tent grounds. And I'll be real with y'all, for the first couple seconds, I legit thought it was an actual trash can in the real world, and someone just tossed that photo in it. On the photo itself, we see Jax and Pomni still looking happy right after the scene where Jax lays out his world view on the Digital Circus. The wildest part is that the photo was actually taken by Jax. That feels extra weird considering what we saw later, but you'll get what I mean in a bit. Right now that pic's lying in the trash, and it's only logical that somebody tossed it, and since we get that, Jax most likely wouldn't keep it. And even though we know for sure that Jax did and said all that on purpose so he wouldn't get attached to anyone, his so-called mask still wouldn't let him keep a pic like that. Which means we can be certain Pomni kept that photo, cause at first, she genuinely believed that after everything they went through together, they'd become real friends.
We could just be winners. As a team.
We're not a team, come on.
What do you mean? Yes, we are.
Delusional.
Weren't we kind of bonding over being chaotic evil together?
I was merely entertaining you because I thought it was funny.
But after everything that went down, we get that Pomni actually got disappointed in Jax as a friend, and that's exactly why she tossed their fun photo together.